I just texted Ray and told him, wait, let me change my name again. It still says Cheryl Ramos every time I come in. She set up my thing on the account, like, however long ago we started this, a year ago. And so we never changed it. So anyway, hi. Yeah, I was waiting. I'm just going to say I was waiting for everybody else to get on, but I texted Ray and told him I was running a little late. I actually had another appointment before this. What am I doing starting my appointments before 8:30 in the morning? It's because I'm going out of town for 10 days. That's why. So I will miss your faces next week. However, somebody is going to have this thing covered. I know it. I don't remember if it's Keone or Michelle or somebody. Michelle's got it covered. Yes. Thank you, Michelle. Okay. So I am excited to see you. And I do have some cool stuff that I want to share. And then I'm going to let Michelle also, if she has anything to talk about. And then I think Latasha, you had a couple things you wanted to go over today too, right? Okay, yes. Great. And then Don Harris wanted me to ask people, which I love, is who did their net worth calculations today? Did anybody? So it's the first of the month. And in the wealth group, one of the things that we do every month is a net worth calculation to see where were we at. Don is giving a thumbs up. Where were we at last month and where are we at this month? And it's a great way to kind of track your, also like what you're doing with your cash flow and making sure you're working towards building your net worth. So is there anybody on this call that has done that? I didn't. Don, you might have got up and done it first thing this morning. I did not do it yet, although I pretty much know where I'm at based on where I was last month. Because I pay attention now a lot more. Has anybody gone through that exercise like today or recently? Okay, so does anybody want to do that exercise that hasn't done it yet? Yeah, okay. So a couple people.
I didn't do mine this morning, but I will be doing it before lunch.
Awesome, Michelle and Baron, good. Yeah, don't be afraid of it. Like honestly, I was thinking, I think I told you guys this, but when I first did the exercise, I thought I was going to be in a lot worse shape than I was. And I was so pleasantly surprised and it was very motivating. So just do it, stay focused on it, because ultimately what are we, we're working hard and we enjoy what we do and we're passionate about it. And we're fortunate that we're doing something as active income that we love. And at the same time, what are we really working for? How is it helping your life and funding your life? So, where do we get it? Don, you want to put it in the chat box, the link, the net worth sheet? I think he can do that. We shared it. The other thing is if you join on Facebook, maybe Don put the name of the group, the Facebook group for the wealth group. And because we have files on there too. Okay, perfect. He put the Facebook group on. Ray put the Facebook group in there. If you go to the Facebook group, I know it's in files. And Dawn just shared it. Okay. So great way to start the morning on Wednesday. A couple of things I want to touch on today are, I want to give a reminder, and Michelle, if you're going to talk about this, then tell me and I won't, which is the protection list. I want to do a reminder on the protection list for people. Okay. So those of you who take listings, which is hopefully everybody now or at some point or have in the past and will continue, you ask for buyer names, and you may have been on the buy side of this, meaning you have a client, you go show them a property and the listing agent asks you for the buyer's name and you don't understand why. Has this happened to anybody? Has anybody had experience? Okay, so that's happened to you where you go, why do you want my buyer's name? I'm not giving you that, right? Like you might be defensive initially. However, when you take listings, you understand, and you're on the other side of that, why you're doing that. And so without me telling you, because a lot of you know this, I'm going to let you guys share, because it's come up that some people aren't understanding this. And I want to assure you that this is a normal course of things. And you actually want to make sure you do it if you have the listing, because it can come back to bite you. So can somebody tell me why, if you are a listing agent, that you ask for every buyer that comes through your door, and not just, this is the agent's name that showed the property, but the actual buyer's name. Tell me why you do that.
For the protection period.
Okay, Nancy, thank you, Karen, for raising your hand. So Nancy, let's elaborate on that. Can you tell everybody that doesn't know what you mean by for the protection period. What does that mean exactly?
In the listing, you have a protection option that you could put 90 days, 120 days, any amount of days you want after, let's just say, the seller decided to cancel the listing. But if you brought them a ready, willing, able buyer after the cancellation, they would honor the contract, the listing contract, and pay you the agreed amount of commission.
Awesome, Nancy. Great. So yes, to expand on what Nancy is saying, you take a listing. In the listing, there is a protection period. You bring, now, if you are the listing agent and somebody shows it, say it's Jill from ABC Realty is bringing her client, Ben Smith. Okay, let's see if I can remember these names. So Jill brings Ben Smith, and you know Jill, and you say, great, Jill showed my property. And you don't ask Jill who her client is and what the client's name, and you never get Ben Smith's name. And then Ben Smith, then the seller cancels the listing or even relists, right? Because they can relist with another company, and you have not provided a protection list, or you did to the seller, who then provides it to their new agent. It doesn't have Ben Smith's name on it. Ben Smith buys it, 5 minutes later, meaning like, say within the next 30 days. And that was, what's her name's, who was the agent? Jill's client. Are you entitled to the commission on that? Most likely, yes. I mean, that's the procuring cause, right? If you brought that person, you showed them the property, you had it listed, that you were under the protection period. Now, if you did not get Ben Smith's name though, and you did not provide Ben Smith's name to the seller, then you do not, I mean, you still may have a case for procuring cause. However, who wants to deal with that as opposed to here's Ben Smith's name, I've gotten it from her, here's all the people that I showed the property to, if they buy it, I'm entitled to a commission, and now everybody knows. So so when you're on the buy side of that, if you're, what's her name, Jill, who brought Ben, and Nancy is listing agent, and I'm Jill, and Nancy says to me, what's your client's name? I'm going to say, oh, it's Ben Smith. I'm going to give it to Nancy. I'm going to write it to her. I'm going to give it to her in an email. Ben Smith was my client, and now she knows. Or I'm going to fill something out and say Ben Smith was my client. I'm not going to say, no, I'm not going to share that with you because that's my client. You're not asking for their firstborn or a blood test from Ben Smith. You just want their name. Okay. Any questions about the protection list on either side? Great. Did somebody learn something from that didn't know before, that they didn't know?
I do have a question.
Yes, Benjamin.
So for instance, that happens, it's a month after the contract, it goes into the place where it's not being sold anymore. And that happens, and Ben Smith, it goes under contract to buy the house. How does the original listing agent find this? Like, do they have to be given due diligence?
Yeah, that knows that Ben bought it, meaning how do they know that Ben bought it?
Or that Ben is buying it?
So typically you may not know until you may know, because you may be in conversation with the agent. Sure. Sometimes people know because they're like, oh, my buyer bought that property. Oftentimes you don't know until it closes, and then you check. And a good listing agent is going to check on those things when they've had listings. They're going to be following that up when they're going to track that listing if it leaves them, typically. So that's a good question. And any other, there was one other thing I was going to say and I can't remember. Oh yeah. So I had a situation. It also works. So here's the tricky thing. When you're a buyer's agent, and the listing agent doesn't do that for your buyer. So this can also happen where you're the buyer's agent, you provide, because remember, it can protect you too if your buyer, what if your buyer also goes to buy with somebody else the property you showed them, right? When the listing agent had it, which by the way, that happened to me, and that's how I learned the lesson the very first time and never again. But you also have a limited amount of control when you're the buyer's agent for that listing agent to make sure your buyer gets on a protection list to the seller, because then what happened in my situation is an agent, I won't name who they are, but they're not with our company, and they're a great age. I mean, they're a really great person. They just did not do this part of the job well at the time. They had a listing. I brought a buyer who was interested in purchasing the property. The seller canceled the listing with the listing agent. The listing agent had my buyer's name, did not provide a protection list to the seller, meaning if these people buy it, you have to pay a commission. They didn't relist it with another agent. What they did is they went behind both of us and they put a deal together themselves. They put a deal together themselves on their own. Had the listing agent given the seller a list with my buyer on it when my buyer bought it, which they did. And by the way, it wasn't my original relationship. This person was a client of a company that referred them to me. I'm just mentioning that because, buyers don't typically leave me. No, when you have a relationship, but anyway, in this case, the listing agent did not produce that list, give it to the seller. Had they done that, we could have said, you agreed to pay a commission and I get half of that, or, our company gets half of that. So just so you know, it also works that way. So when you are a buyer's agent and bring somebody and something happens with the listing, just make sure they've got that list and that they're providing it to the extent that you can. You can't force an agent to do that. But, it brings up a good question, Michelle, of whether I, as a buyer's agent, could give that name to the seller and say, hey, this person saw it. I don't know if you can do that. But anyway, okay. So
I don't
anything
think
else?
you can because your listing contract is between the brokerage and the
Right.
seller, and outside buyer isn't a party.
Yep. I
Or
figured
outside-
that. It's like, how do you protect from that happening? That's unusual, although you know what, it can happen. So it's just good for you guys to know. That I'm going to segue that into
Lisa?
Yes. No.
Lisa, can you hear me?
Yeah.
What a buyer's agent can do is email the listing agent when they see it's being canceled and tell them, please provide my buyer's name to your seller as a part of your protection list. And you have that email in writing, which now you've created a paper trail and documentation. If they then fail to do that, you can get the money from the listing agent. Because that's part of their professional
a good-
requirement.
Yeah.
So
That's a good
always
potential
send
way
the
to buy.
email, even as a buyer's agent, to the listing agent. And then if they don't provide it, you can pursue it against that brokerage, the listing brokerage.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yes, Nancy.
I just have one comment.
Yes.
I think this is great that you're educating us, because there are agents who take listings and don't put anything on that because they don't really understand it. So this
Yep.
is really good that you share it with us so that we all get it and then we start using it.
Totally, Nancy. Thank you. And that's what happens is Michelle and I, and on all the brokers, they see these things. We see these things come up. And so that's why I add it. So what happens is I see a situation, I see a learning opportunity, or I see a pattern of something, and I put it in my little notes in my thing for the company huddle. And that's what I'm looking at right now. And then when the company huddle comes up, we talk about it and that's, I think, it's the best way to learn, because it's actually what's happening out there. And we're just getting the information from you guys as you're doing the business. And that goes with everything. So thank you. And yes, there was a need there because we saw that happening. And so there you go. Thank you for mentioning that. Okay. One of the things I also wanted to bring up was regarding the rental assistance. So I think I sent that to you, Marianne. I'm sure you saw it because we were having this conversation about the moratoriums, the eviction moratorium, and the Supreme Court. They ended that moratorium. If you guys did not see that last week, the Supreme Court ruled that the CDC's eviction moratorium was deemed unconstitutional and basically ended it. However, what I'm not sure about is because Keone made a comment that it can also there can be some complication or confusion statewide. So Michelle, yes, if you have information to share on that, I'm looking
The
for.
governor's order is still in place here in Hawaii.
Okay.
That ruling was a federal ruling that does not affect the state mandate of our governor. So we still have an eviction moratorium, I believe, until the 4th of September. Here
Or
in
is it still
Hawaii.
Is it still
Yes.
October 3rd? Because that was the last date I heard the extension was October 3rd.
October 3rd, if they've extended it. So, yeah,
Okay, so
whatever the
after,
state order is, that's in place.
so do you know whether the state can then extend that? I mean, do they still have the ability to do whatever they want, given the ruling of the Supreme Court, and they just can take that as like, well, the Supreme Court said it's unconstitutional, but we're gonna do it anyway. I mean, I guess it's kind of weird.
I
to me,
don't know if
but-
they can extend it, but I've heard that the governor's not going to extend it.
Okay, so just wanted to keep you guys updated, and I think Keone mentioned there was another webinar coming up. I know, and I hate to tell you guys this because last time I was talking about this and I was telling Marion, oh yeah, it's coming up, and then I said after the meeting I looked and I told Marion, oh, it already happened. Sorry, we missed it. Okay, Marion, do you have something? Yeah, your hand's raised. Oh wait, I can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
You're not muted though. Oh, maybe it's your earbuds. No. Check your mic settings. Okay, while you're doing that, I'm going to look at the chat box because some people put stuff in the chat box. So the best way, okay, so Baron's asking as a buyer's agent to do this, going back to the protection period, is ask the listing agent to provide the buyer's name to seller. Yeah, Baron. So if the listing agent is already doing their job, like if they ask you for the name of your buyer, most likely they're creating a protection list. They're actually doing their job and they're gonna give that to the seller if the seller cancels the listing. But sure, of course, if you see the listings canceled, double check with them, put it in writing, give them your buyer's name, say, hey, I want to make sure you have my buyer's name for your protection list and that you're giving this to the seller. I saw the listing canceled. So yes, I mean, that's kind of to double check. However, most likely if they've asked you for your buyer's name, they're actually creating a protection list that they're going to give to the seller, but you never know. What Michelle said. Yeah. Okay, great. Perfect. Okay. Marion, let's try that again. Can we hear you yet? No. Bummer.
Check your
Okay, well,
volume. Marion,
if you
check
wanna-
your volume on
Oh,
your
check
computer.
your volume on your computer, Sam, on your microphone. Sam is saying, so if you go to the little mute, go to your audio settings, check your volume. If we can't hear you, whatever, if you can put anything in the chat box, it might be too long. Not a lot of agents ask for buyers' names, Baron. You're saying that you show property. Well, that is a great, there you go. There's an indicator then. That may be a prop. They may run into a problem, or they may just say, well, I don't care if my seller goes and sells it to somebody, yeah, whatever. I mean, maybe they just don't do that for their business. They certainly should be. Okay. Rental assistance. Anything else on the rental assistance program? Okay, Latasha, go ahead and why don't you go ahead and give your update, and then Michelle, you go ahead, and then if we have time after, I have one or two more things, but they're not super critical.
So as you can see my Zoom background, command fundamentals. So the MCTTs, myself and Carrie on Oahu are tag teaming, and we are actually going to focus on quality and not quantity. So for the rest of the year, every first Tuesday, we are having a class. The first class is going to be next Tuesday, day after Labor Day celebration. And that class is going to be on contacts and command. The cool thing about it is that we are going to be leveraging the conversation that Gary Keller and John Keller had in terms of the path to brand. So we're going to talk about your path to branding your business as a real estate agent, and then also how that ties into contacts. So you don't want to miss that. We're going to play a couple snippets of that video. It's about 15 minutes. We're not going to play the whole 15 minutes, but we're going to give you some golden nuggets from both Gary Keller and also John, and then their marketing guru that they had in the presentation. So it should be an awesome time. It'll be from 10 to 11 a.m. It's going to be every Tuesday, but this Tuesday coming up, we'll focus on contacts, specifically reiterating the path to brand that Gary Keller talked about in Mega Camp. So don't want to miss it.
So Latasha, just kind of in layman's terms for those of us who didn't attend that session, although I did see the email, which you and I had talked about. So if I'm an agent and I don't have a personal brand or not a vision statement, what does he call it? A
Promise statement.
Promise statement for my business. I want to attend this training so I can develop that. And that helps set me apart in the marketplace to other agents, because now I can speak to my value proposition to clients, right? And I can then come up with, if I want, take that a step further, take that vision statement or that what statement? Promise statement. And wow, gosh, I don't know what's going on today with my brain. I haven't like taken my vitamins yet. Anyway, so promise statement, I can turn that into like a logo or a personal brand that a lot of our agents do. A lot of them that are especially working at a high level, they have their look. You can take that and turn that into a look, right? Too. You can
So you can take it,
branding.
you can turn it into a look, but most importantly, it allows you to take it to a marketing effective strategy, because a lot of times when you look at the marketing collateral that you put out, it's not as consistent as you think it ought to be. And so having that promise statement, that brand, kind of mission statement grounds you and centers your marketing strategy so that you can be as effective as possible. So it's really a great tool in terms of retool and getting ready for the end of the year. So it will be a great fundamental class. Regardless if you're using Command or not, you can still take those marketing strategies and apply them to whatever CRM you're using. So it's a great strategy session.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Latasha. Michelle.
Good morning, everyone. Happy September. Ray is going to be sending out an email today. September is Safety Month for National Association of Realtors, and there are several links in the email. I'm just asking, please take 5 minutes to read the email, select one link, and pick up 3 tips that you don't use today that you can incorporate into greater realtor safety as you work your business. The next reminder I wanted to share was the renewal dues statements have gone out. They are due September 30th, $670 if you do the RPAC contribution, which I really encourage you to do RPAC. RPAC is the Realtors Political Action Committee, and they lobby for us and the industry to keep legislation out that would negatively impact us. So all dues for all agents are due to RAM by September 30th. If you think you're going to have problems, reach out to me. But otherwise, your dues should be paid by the end of the month. That's it for today.
Thank you, Michelle. I felt left out. Latasha and Michelle were both wearing glasses, so I'm now part of the club. Okay. I'm gonna let Jonathan, getting old. Okay. Jonathan Udis. I don't know if we have your video handy, which was so incredible and amazing. If not, we'll play it next week. However, I would love for you to just chat a little bit about KW Cares, and by a show of hands or a thumbs up, if you're not showing me your face, which is a lot of you guys, who saw Jonathan Udis's KW Cares video that we posted? Yeah, that thing was super cool. So, man, what a great thing for Jonathan to do. So I want him to talk a minute about KW Cares.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, so two culture committee announcements. One is that on the 25th of this month, we're doing a beach cleanup at Cam 3. So there should be a flyer going out to everybody. If it didn't already, it'll go out very soon. And you can volunteer for that at the front desk, or just let Ray know. And it's going to be just for an hour. We're going to be doing a beach cleanup. And then after that, it'll be more social to hang out on the beach. And so that should be fun. I hope everybody can participate. And then the KW Cares I Care Pledge. Yeah, I was actually going to mention, Lisa, I'm going to be doing I'm doing my RAM CE course during our next team meeting. So I'm hoping you can play the video, even though I won't be able to talk about it. But yeah, so it's really simple, you guys. It's just a goal for all of us associates to commit to giving to KW Cares, and to contact our MCA, or you can even do it in Command. But really, you can just set it up so it's automatically done, so that every time you have a commission or a sale transaction, a little portion of it will go to KW Cares. And the one thing that I really want to emphasize is it's not about the amount. A lot of the times people get intimidated or feel like, you know, I can't afford to really give right now. And what we're saying is just, even if you could give $1, that would be wonderful, because if you have 3 transactions a year, it's $3. If you have a huge year and you do 20 transactions, it's still only $20, which is very affordable to most people. And what would be really amazing is if we could get all like 300 agents that we have in our brokerages to commit to that, to just giving that little bit, then we could go and be a sort of leader to KW brokerages around the world and say, hey, KW Realty Maui has 100% participation in this KW Cares pledge. And we could inspire other brokerages around the country to do that. So I really encourage you guys to consider it. And it's as easy as a phone call. You could just literally call Shelby and just say, you know, and then I've got the certificates and I'm going to leave them on the front desk too. So you could just, you know, fill it out so that it says, I took the KW Cares pledge. Thanks so much. And of course, if you haven't, you could go onto KW Cares website and you can see they're really doing amazing things and helping out families of associates around the country when they're in need. So it's a really good cause.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah. So Ray put Jonathan's video in the chat box, as well as the beach cleanup information and how to RSVP for that. Oh, it says, Ray, they're saying the form needs permission. So you might have to edit that. And then, yeah, as far as if you want to add it to when you have a closing, Jonathan said, pick up the phone and call Shelby. She's definitely going to tell you to email it to her. Tell her in an email. She wants everything in writing, which is very good. You should actually take note. She's very good at that, like agents should be. Okay. I did want to share one other thing with you. Oh, and then I had a question in the chat box, just going back to the protection period for a minute. Somebody asked what if you're helping an agent and the client calls you direct. If you're helping an agent and the client calls you direct to now become your, okay, you might have to, if you want to talk about that, Bruce, on the thing, you might have to unmute and ask the question, because I'm not sure I quite understand that. But I'm happy to answer it if you want, or we can talk about it offline if you don't want to talk about it now.
Yeah,
There you
so
go.
it was just, I was helping an agent try to set up for their listing. And what
Oh,
happened?
another agent in the company.
Yes.
Okay.
And their handyman that I got to know a little bit was kind of nudging the client to change realtors.
Oh,
Because,
no.
yeah, they had seemed, you know, it had taken a long time for them to actually list it. So the client actually called me direct to say, hey, I want you to represent me and sell my house now, because it's just been taking too long. And I said, you know, I understand what you're going through, you know, however, you know, I'm not gonna do anything like that to steal someone's listing or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? It's just explaining to the client about, you know, in the listing agreement, there's give and take on both sides on how you're supposed to do it. And, you know, I just was trying to find, you know, it ended up, it's in escrow right now. So that's the good thing about it.
Okay. Did you
the
talk to
agent.
you let the listing agent know that the buyer, I mean, that the seller contacted you?
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
said, hey, you know, please talk to your client. Your client is calling me direct.
Yeah, that's what you do. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what you do in that case. And if there's other issues, you know, get your broker involved if needed.
Yeah.
Which that might be a grounds for that if it doesn't get resolved through that conversation. But yeah, that's an unusual circumstance for sure. For sure. Okay. I wanted to, well, thank you for sharing, because it's good to talk about the stuff that's going on out there. That's very interesting. I'm going to share my screen of something that I posted on our private Facebook group late last night, because this is what I do late at night. Can never turn it off. I don't know. I really, except maybe on Sundays. So I want to show you, let me just get rid of this. Can you guys see? This was a, and maybe, well, you can look it up yourself. If you're not on the private Facebook group, you can go to Real Estate Almanac. I don't know if any of you guys look at that.com, but this is really a cool thing that I saw somebody share, which is an unbiased third party entity in terms of information, which is very credible. The Real Estate Almanac is very credible and verified and valid. If you are taking a listing and you want to share what Keller Williams is doing, you know, we tell people we're the largest real estate company in the world and we're the top real estate company in the US in terms of sales. This shows it. And this is pretty cool. This is a 2020. I think this came out sometime in 2020. But it gives a ranking for 2021 because it takes all of 2020 into consideration. And you can see, so Keller Williams Realty was #1 in 2020 with $387.55 billion in sales, which we've been #1 for a long time, for several years, and we still went up 15.1%, and other brokerages didn't quite have that increase. You know, our next biggest competitor is RE/MAX at like 294. That's 93 million less than us in billions. I'm sorry, 93 billion less than us in sales volume. So it's pretty powerful when you're talking to a client about like, hey, we sell more real estate than anybody. This is why you want to list with us. This is why you want to buy with us. Right. And then that's RE/MAX. I mean, we're, you know, 100 and whatever billion over CB, or, I mean, look at just the difference. It's huge. It's just unreal. So I really wanted to show you guys that because sometimes we show you stuff when we put it in the intranet, but that was a new one that just came out that I saw. Well, it came out a while ago, but I didn't see it. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that those are great tools that you can use if somebody's ever questioning, well, I'm thinking of listing with such and such company. And obviously an agent relationship makes a big difference as far as you with your client. But for some of you who don't have your own track record of sales yet to share, or they're thinking of listing with another company, you know, you don't want to say anything poorly about that company, but that's stats and facts. And you can go, oh, here, or, hey, you know, did you know that we sell 100 billion more than that particular, you know, I don't know who you want to partner with, but we do sell more real estate and we do have a larger network. We also have by far another probably over 100. I think we have like something like almost 100,000 more agents as well, that as our second largest competitor nationwide. So it's a huge difference. So use that, okay, if you haven't, and go to that website. Use those tools. Those are for you. Okay. Any other questions anybody has? Anything we have to cover? If not, I'm going to give you a couple of quotes.
I have a question, Lisa. This is Aisha.
Yes, Aisha.
Okay, so on the subject that you started today, you know, on showing time, it does ask to list the buyer's name. Shall we put it on the showing time? Shall we enter the buyer's name?
Yeah, I think so. I don't use it all. I'm not super familiar with it, but if somebody is using showing time, then yeah, I would probably put it in there because that's their tracking system.
Okay.
That's actually a good system to have something like that where they can track it that way.
Okay.
Probably, yeah, I would say sure. Why not? Okay, I just put the website link of the Real Estate Almanac. Somebody was asking for it in there, and the chat box. Okay, anything else? Okay, I was talking to a couple people this week, and I had a great conversation with an agent that is new with us here on Maui. She actually just moved to Hawaii. Dawn and Tammy Harris introduced me to her. Christine Stalsberg is her name. She's awesome. And she was a broker in another state for a long time. Okay, Baron, I see you have a question. Well, I'll call on you in a second. One of the quotes, I'm talking to her and she's just shelling out all these great like anecdotal quotes. So I'm taking notes. And one of the ones that was powerful that we talked about when we talked about agents and training and differences like of companies and how important it is for competency. It's just a reminder, and you guys know this, it just hit me, where she said, this is not a wing it kind of career. You have, meaning it's not a wing it kind of a job. You have people's lives in your hands and they're depending on you and your expertise, right? Because this is a huge deal for them, their houses, their property. This is a big impact in their life. It's not like we're selling them a bottle of water. Not that that's not important. I'm just saying this is a life big impact thing. So the reliance on expertise and knowledge and training and coming to these company huddles and doing, talking to your broker, it's so critically important when you really think about that. It's not something just to wing. You really want to take great care in your education and your training and your customer service and client care. And that's why we focus a lot on systems and models in this company, because we know with systems and models, you can provide that and you can scale it, and you're much less likely to make gross errors by doing that. So I thought that was a good quote. Baron, yes, you have something. And then I have other inspiring ones that are not as like hand slap.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Go ahead, Baron.
So I know that we have a referral program, right? I try to network with other Keller Williams agents to send referrals and receive referrals all over the US and Canada. I have a client that has a property they're selling in the Philippines. And
okay.
I was just wondering, because it's valued at about $1.5 US. Is there a way for me to connect with a Keller Williams agent in the Philippines to do a referral?
You betcha. David Cordero, I'm pulling him up right now. Go to Facebook, look up David, middle name is Aureo Cordero. He's a great contact. He's a great he's the guy I go to for, he's actually, I think in Hawaii, but he goes back and forth to the Philippines. He's kind of my go-to guy. But you can also look up in KW Worldwide on the website. You can also go to the Philippines on the map, and then that will give you the contact for the person to, that'll give you a contact, and you contact that person and say, this is what I'm looking for, and they'll connect you with somebody. Because David, well,
okay.
Actually, I don't know if I think, yeah, David's with KW in the Philippines. So there you go.
So you can also get to other agents on the map internationally.
Yeah. So internationally, I typically, if I will go to Facebook, there is a KW Worldwide Facebook group too for referrals, by the way. But so you can go there or go to the map.
Okay, awesome. And I'm driving, can you text me that stuff, please? Do you mind?
Yes, Ray, can you text? I saw you put it in the chat box. Ray will text it to you. He's so on top of it. Love it. Ray, do you have your hand raised because you want to say something? And Baron, by the way, congratulations, you guys. Baron is one of, you may have broken the record, Baron. I don't know. I have to check the other fastest capper we ever had in this company since we started. Yeah, so Baron, it's her first year. I'm just telling everybody, this is your first year in real estate. You're not even in a year and you've capped. So congratulations, that's amazing. And it doesn't happen to everybody. Usually it takes, usually it's the second year. They don't cap till their second year. It's unusual to cap in your first year, and you did it fast. So good job. Ray, did you want to say something?
Absolutely. I'm so excited. I just wanted to give you guys a primer. We have Bold Local coming up. We're just in kind of the initial planning phases with our coach. And so look forward over the next week. We're going to start rolling out more information about Bold Local. I'm really excited because it's with all of the agents in Hawaii, which is going to be fun. So yeah, stay tuned. Mark your calendars. It's going to start the week of October 11th.
Yes, which is incredible. We'll be talking a lot more about Bold. So just those of you who've taken it before, you've heard of it, as soon as that comes up, go ahead and register. Those of you who haven't, you'll be hearing a lot more about it. It's the Keller Williams It's the #1 training program that Keller Williams has that produces the fastest results of production, puts people into the contract like during the program. It's very, very good. And this is a newer version of it too. They keep hybriding it and making it better with the digital version. So we'll talk more about that. Okay, one more thing, then I'm going to let you guys go. This was a post from another team leader, and there were a couple of things that she said that I liked that I'm going to leave you with. Life is complex, and you can't live in complexity without having some anxiety and overwhelm. So what I liked about that is don't beat yourself up or think that you can always live without anxiety or overwhelm, because that's not life. So just embrace it as part of the process and do your best to navigate through it. But it is a complex, life is not simple, it's complex. So give yourself some grace there. She also said most people spend most of their life avoiding their life. So go be great at whatever you choose, And that's it. Knowledge is power. Thank you for being here today. And you guys are awesome. Have a great rest of the week and weekend. And I won't be with you next week, but I'll see you when I get back from the mainland after the 14th. And Michelle will take great care of you next week. All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, Lisa. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Aloha.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.